Kids and cadets, welcome back to Tommy Time. Thanks for coming out, revisiting this 1999 Craftsman mulcher. It's the model 917-377830. I'll put the model number in the description below. This is the third video I've done on this thing. This thing was a boat anchor. So the last couple videos I showed you, we kind of looked this thing over and resurrected it as much as we could. It's been about 2 weeks since I posted or filmed those videos. I gave this thing a chance to sit. So we need to mess with it a little bit more, and I want to see if it starts again after sitting for so long. Main issue was the recoil was no good. I ended up putting an aftermarket recoil on it. So I did that. This had an electric starter. I got rid of all the wiring associated with the starting system. The starter's out, alternator's out, and the micro switch has been removed. So I did put Osmo on the deck after I used some rough sandpaper to get the scaly paint. I did put one coat of Rust-Oleum paint on it, the Hunter Green. I was going to do a second coat and then I gave up. I figured this Earl Scheib special paint job is as far as I'm going to go. Putting a second coat on isn't going to get me 50 bucks more in selling price. So issue also is when I sanded it, all these pinholes appeared. Like I mentioned before, this has more holes in it than Bonnie and Clyde's 1934 Ford Deluxe with the V8. So what I want to do, I had shown you before, there's a bunch of hairline cracks in the tank. The unit sat outside. This is all dry rotted. I ended up getting a secondary tank from my scrapper for $5. This came in a package deal, 2 for $10. He ended up giving me another quantum style engine. This has a build date 10th month of 2009. So it's 10 years newer than what's on the unit itself. So let's change out the tank. It's got a shorter fuel line than this one because the starter sits under this area right here and they run a longer hose past the starter. So we'll change this out, give it a new air filter, put the air filter cover back on it, refuel it and start it. If it starts again, I think it will. So you guys went along with my assessment that this thing was a boat anchor. I probably shouldn't have carried on with the project. I just wanted to see if this thing could be resurrected. I know it's not going to bring me much, and we'll discuss that at the end of the video, what I think my pricing will be. So I kind of went on to other projects. There was more lucrative stuff to fix than this thing. I'm just taking a little time today to finish up the project so I can get this in the ready pile to go. That way I know it's going to be a running and functioning machine. It'll be ready in my finish pile. So let's see if we can speed this thing up. So I went through this machine head to toe. The adjusters on the wheels were not working. This front axle was bound up with rust. I went through basically every component on this machine. I think if I come across any 1999 Craftsman in the near future, I can resurrect it in my sleep. So let's remove the fuel line. Okay, that popped off. You see the extra long hose here. That accompanies the starter, which is in this area. We don't need a super long hose. You can see all the cracks in this. I think I showed you this before. It's got 1,001 cracks every which way. It is holding a little bit of gas, but I'm afraid if somebody tries to fill this thing to the top, it's just going to be a big fire hazard. These aftermarket tanks are about $23 on AliExpress, but luckily I've got this one for $5. I can reuse it. It doesn't appear to be cracked in any vital locations, so I think this will be a good one to reuse. So how you guys doing getting ready for mowing season? We've had some rain here in Southwest Florida, but kind of not enough to get the grass growing. It did turn green, but the growth just isn't there, so haven't really had any demand for mowers. But like I mentioned before, once we get the afternoon showers, that warm inland breeze hits the coastline, the Gulf of Mexico water temperatures less than the inland air temperature. Those two meet and you end up with thunderstorms along the coast every afternoon, 4:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock. You can almost set your watch to it. Kind of cools things down a little bit, but not much. It just kind of brings up the humidity. All that moisture on the ground starts evaporating, and then the humidity level really skyrockets. It's like a sauna. You don't want to be in Florida in the summertime. A lot of people head north, get out of the excruciating temperatures. Same thing if you're in the Arizona desert like Phoenix, hotter than hell in the summertime. You get out early in the morning before you start roasting, do what you got to do, and then stay in the air conditioning. Okay, that's tightened down. My bottom nut is tight. Just check the oil. We are up at the high mark. Okay, there we go. So what else do we have to do? Air filter. I'm going to put the cover back on the front wheel drive. We'll do that. So I did clean up the pulley here in the front. I think I did the engine pulley too, because there was a lot of caked up rust just from this thing sitting. So I cleaned up the V pretty good, got rid of all that rust. I didn't want it chewing up the belt. Put a spring on it. The spring was missing, as I mentioned before. I put the unit in gear. It wouldn't come out of gear. I noticed the spring was missing, probably rusted and fell off. New aftermarket carb. The original carb was full of white debris in the bowl. I didn't want to mess with cleaning it. I just threw an aftermarket carb on to speed things up. Okay, so that's down. So basically we got a no-name machine except for the Craftsman sticker back there, the ID sticker. Okay, time for the filter. We'll filter it, put some fuel in it, and we'll see if it smokes. One of my viewers, Mike, asked me if it had stopped smoking. When I initially started it, I let it idle for a little bit. The smoke did diminish. So we'll find out, letting this thing sit a couple weeks, if we got any issues with smoke. Maybe I can come up with a beauty ring, call it something other than a Craftsman, or I may just sell it like this. Because it does look like a Frankenstein unit. Why not carry on with the trend? No sense in making it pretty, because I won't get a whole lot for it. Put a little fuel in this thing. Just check the bottom of the tank. Make sure we don't have any waterfalls. I don't see any waterfalls. Everything looks dry. So, I just saw a scrapper go by that I hadn't seen before. He had a water heater and some other junk, but no lawnmowers. I was going to chase after him. But garbage pickup was this morning, so he's kind of 6 hours too late. You got to go the night before the scheduled garbage and scoop up all the junk. He needs to take some lessons from the scrappers that I use. Early to scrap gets the metal. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this double turd. We got to prime it. I hear some squishing. So that should be plenty of juice to get this thing running. So what do you think? That seemed to turn out well. Started on like the third or fourth pull. Front wheel engaged, front wheel drive engaged. So let me know, is it still a double turd? So I'm thinking 100. This is what I've been working on instead of that turd. I got a Turo recycler, this old Crafty with a bag, and a Hyper Tough cheapie. So I'll probably do 170 on this Kohler powered recycler. So if somebody comes and squawks, they don't want to spend 170, I can show them this fine beauty for 100. Does the same thing, it's just an ugly duckling, self-propelled, front wheel drive like the recycler. So anyway, it's always good to have something extra to sell. So this would be it. So let's, I'll show you this thing in action. I'll remove the double turds so they don't bounce off, and we have 15 extra turds when those get chopped up. Like I said, grass has been growing, but I can get you over here and just do a little demo. We'll do a demo run. So it is kicking up a little sand through the trap door. If you could see that, there was some grass and sand being kicked up through this area. Kind of kicked it up here on the side of the deck as well. Anyway, for $100, it's a basic self-propelled. At least people won't have to push it. Anywho, that's where we are. 1999 Crafty. I'll put the model and engine part numbers below. Same scrapper went by. Looks like he had a generator on there, but I don't need any more generators. So let me know what you think on the 99. I'm kind of happy with it. Turned out well, started, it moves. Fairly presentable. I think Earl Scheib would be happy with this scuff and shoot. Please tip your waitress and wait staff. Thanks for coming out. I got to get back to some other projects. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm messing with these two fine beauties. This Troy-built engine's dead. I've had this for a while, went through everything, can't get anything out of it. So the deck is fairly good. I've got this rusty piece of junk, this yard machine. As you can see, there's some massive holes in the deck. I can't do anything with this deck. The engine fired off with happy juice. I'm going through the carb right now. This is a 2012 on the yard machine. Same size or length on the shaft. So I think it'll work well on this Troy built deck. It'll just have that yard machine beauty cover on a Troy built front end, which I don't care about. This is a 2017 on the TB yard machine 2012. So that's what I'm doing today. Both engines are loose. I just have to do the carb on this. Lift this yard machine engine off and put it on the better deck. They're both 550 EX engines, so the horsepower will be the same, 140 cc on both of those. So that's what I'm doing. Green machine's done. I'm going to jump back over here right now and finish up this project. Scrapper comes again, I'll give him this deck. I've given him some pile of crappy blades and a couple of rusty decks already, and he always likes taking free scrap metal. Anyway, have a good day today. Tip your waitress and wait staff. That's what we're doing. Tipping generously.